Hello students, my name is Niyati Said and thanks for watching Wikipedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is 8th section of the chapter Mineral Nutrition. In this section of the presentation, we will study about the factors that influence absorption of plant nutrients, students. Okay. So let's move towards our topic, that is factors influencing absorption of plant nutrients, students. So first is soil aeration. Okay. In most of the cases, living cells cannot survive without oxygen. Can you imagine living cell surviving without oxygen? No. So in most of the cases, although exceptions are there, but in most of the cases living cells cannot survive without oxygen. As the root contain a large number of living cells, they require considerable amount of energy for their metabolic activities and growth, students. Okay, so oxygen is absolutely essential for generating energy rich component by biological oxidative process. Okay, as mineral absorption requires energy, poor soil aeration, it affects the ability of roots to absorb adequate quantity of mineral. That means a soil should be properly aerated because living cells are there in the soil, or living cells reside in the soil, so they require oxygen to carry out their metabolic activities. So oxygen is absolutely essential for generating energy rich component by biological oxidative process. As mineral absorption requires energy, so poor soil aeration, it affects the ability of root to absorb adequate quantity of minerals, students. And waterlogged condition soil, when water is filled in the soil, that condition is known as waterlogged soil. So waterlogged soil, or soil with higher content of clay, they have very little amount of air. That means anaerobic condition is there in the waterlogged soil or soil with the higher content of clay. Okay, so under such conditions the roots are subjected to anaerobic conditions. Okay, anaerobic condition means absence of oxygen, and absorption of mineral is drastically affected. Okay, so soil aeration is very much important for the absorption of nutrients from the soil to the plant body. Okay, so the inhibition of absorption of mineral due to the effect of respiratory poisons on a root clearly suggests that absorption of mineral is an energy dependent process, students. Okay, so soil aeration is first and foremost factor that influences absorption of plant nutrient, students. Okay, we very well know that plant can prepare carbohydrate, fat, protein and vitamins in their body. However, they cannot generate the mineral iron. Thus for plant, the constant supply of mineral is very essential. So the study of how plant obtain mineral elements either through water, air, soil, utilize them for their growth and development is called as mineral nutrition. Okay, so mineral nutrition is very necessary, and there are the factors that control the absorption of this mineral nutrition from the soil. So first is your first factor is your soil aeration. So properly aerated soil should be there for the proper absorption of mineral from the soil to the upper part of the body. Okay, so you should inhibit the use of respiratory poisons on root. Okay, now second factor is your temperature. Soil temperature has a significant effect on roots metabolic activities, and also it affects the mobility of iron in soil solution. Okay, so temperature is another crucial factor that influences absorption of these nutrients from soil. Okay, so if temperature of the soil is lowered, okay, absorption of the mineral will be drastically reduced. That means temperature of the soil should be at optimum levels for the good absorption of mineral from the soil to the roots. Okay, but with increase in temperature, rate of absorption also increases, but up to certain limit. That means there is a limit to it. Okay, so drastic variation in the rate of absorption due to changes in temperature suggests the process is dependent on protein or enzymatic activity. Okay, so temperature is your another crucial factor that influences the absorption of nutrients from soil to the plant body. Okay, that means if the temperature is lowered, absorption of the mineral will be drastically reduced, but with increase in temperature, the rate of absorption of nutrients from soil will also increase, but up to certain limit, students. Okay, and third is pH of the soil solution. pH is another most crucial factor that influences absorption of nutrient from soil. Okay, so the degree of ionization of minerals and other nutrients depend upon the hydrogen ion concentration of the soil solution. See, in the soil solution, hydrogen ion is present. So the degree of ionization of mineral nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, it all depends upon the hydrogen ion concentration of the soil solution. For example, most of the phosphate ion at alkaline pH, okay, it exists either as bivalent ion such as H3PO4 or trivalent ion, that is H3PO4 ions. Bivalent H3PO4 or trivalent H3PO4 ions. Such ions are not favored for absorption. See, these ions cannot be absorbed by the roots of the plant. On the other hand, neutral pH. See, alkaline pH exist in bivalent or trivalent ions, and these bivalent and trivalent ions cannot be favored for absorption by plants. But on the other hand, or on the contrary, neutral pH, it favors absorption of monovalent ion. So the soil pH has significant effect not only on the rate but also a kind of ion uptake. This property is also due to its effect on cellular components that are involved in absorption, which further suggests that nutrients are involved in ion uptake. As the protein structure is very sensitive to pH, its function also changes if there is any change in the pH. Okay, because we very well know that protein that facilitates the absorption of mineral iron from the soil is very sensitive to pH. So when pH changes, function of the protein structure also changes. That is why maintenance of proper soil pH is very important in agriculture, because neutral pH, it favors the absorption of monovalent ion. So you have to maintain that pH in agriculture. Okay, so too acidic or too alkaline, see, too acidic or too alkaline soil is virtually useless for cultivation until and unless soils are restored in terms of pH. Such soils remain as wastelands. Sorry. Now, fourth crucial factor that influences absorption is concentration of soil solution, students. It is seen that generally concentration of mineral and its component found in the soil is far below the level of the same found in the cell sap. Okay, it means that absorption of iron takes place against concentration gradient. The relative concentration of iron found in the cell sap and soil solution give absorption ratios. See, students, concentration of iron which is present inside the plant cell is different, and concentration of iron found in the soil solution is different, and the relative concentration of iron found in cell sap and soil solution gives a absorption ratio. Okay, so students, please note that ocean water, it contains relatively greater amount of salt than that of fresh water. The land plants, they are adapted to grow in freshwater soil, die in marine water. That means land plant, that is your terrestrial plants, cannot grow in marine water. because the marine water is enriched with the greater amount of metal ions, okay, and physiologically drive for them. But marine plant cells which have been adapted to such waters contain much more ionic contents than found in seawater. Even here, ions are absorbed against concentration gradient. Okay, so the rate of absorption ion vary, and it depends on the concentration of soil solution. Normally, root absorb greater amount of iron at greater rate in dilute solution than in relatively high concentration solution. Okay, now comes important features of absorption. First is your unequal absorption and specificity of iron. Students, unequal absorption and specificity of iron is the feature of absorption. Suppose if you have mixed different elements of equal molar concentration in the form of buffer solution, and this you provide to the root system, it absorbs some iron in greater amount than other. The rest are absorbed in traces with variation. This indicates the unequal uptake of ions and also specificity. Certain cells at particular stage of development, they absorb a specific ion because they are required for their metabolism, and the specificity is demanded by the need of cell or tissue. See, cells or tissue for their metabolism, they require different mineral ions. So the demand of a specific ion is determined by cell or tissue. In spite of it, pH of the external solution remains more or less neutral. This is certainly due to exchange of ions, students. Okay. This you can demonstrate by placing a tomato plant with its root intact in dilute solution of NaCl. That means if you pour the tomato plant root in dilute solution of NaCl, after a period of time, certain ions like K and Ca2 plus, they are found in external solution which were not present before. See, you had a solution of NaCl, but after a period of time, you observe potassium and calcium in that NaCl solution. What is that? It was not present before. From where it has come? This phenomena explains the exchange of ions between external solution and internal sap. That means potassium and calcium, this K and Ca2 plus, it has come from the inner cell sap of plant cell. Okay, so this exchange of ion takes place between the external solution and internal sap. Another equally important aspect of unequal uptake or absorption of ion is the dilution effect, where greater the dilution of external solution, greater is the rate of uptake. Student, it is seen that if you dilute the external solution more, then it is seen that greater will be the rate of uptake of mineral iron from that external solution. Okay, although this behavior is difficult to explain, furthermore, the preferential uptake clearly suggests that role of specific carriers in the process of absorption of ions. Okay, so this was the first feature of absorption. Second is saturation effect. What is that, students? In a root system, if a root system is provided with excess amount of specific ions, initially ions are taken up at greater rate, but later the rate of uptake will remain steady or constant. That means after that it will not uptake ion. First it will take at greater rate, but then it will become constant, or it will get saturated. So this observation suggests that for a given ion there is a fixed number of specific carrier site. If all are loaded with their respective ions, the rate of uptake cannot be increased until and unless number of carriers is increased. I have already taught you what is carrier protein. So for better understanding of the presentation, please refer to that presentation. Okay, so saturation effect is another important feature of absorption. See, when a root system is provided with excess amount of a specific ion, then initially it will take or uptake those mineral ion at a greater rate, but later the rate of uptake will remain steady or constant, because it suggests that there are fixed number of specific carrier proteins which take up the solute and transfer it to the other side of the membrane. Okay, so if all carrier proteins are loaded with the respective ions, then rate of uptake cannot be increased until and unless number of carriers is increased, number of carrier proteins is increased. Okay, so this is your saturation effect. Now comes your metabolic energy, which is another important feature of absorption. See, energy is required for all metabolic processes. There's no doubt in it. To demonstrate this, whether metabolic energy is required for ion uptake or not, it is possible to test by providing respiratory poisons like KCN, potassium cyanide, DNP, or rotenone. These are your respiratory poisons, which if you apply this to the root system which is engaged in the absorption of mineral, then you will see that uptake of the ion will get drastically reduced, which suggests that energy is absolutely required for the absorption of ions. This demonstration showed that if you apply respiratory poisons like potassium cyanide, DNP, or rotenone to the root system which is engaged in absorption of mineral, then uptake of the ion will get drastically reduced, which suggests that energy is absolutely required for the absorption of ions. So these were the three features that influence the absorption of mineral ion from soil to the root. Now we will study about soil as reservoir of essential elements. Students, it is seen that majority of nutrients that are essential for growth and development of plant become available to the root due to weathering, okay, and breakdown of rock, students, that enrich the soil with dissolved ions and inorganic salts. Since they are derived from rock minerals, their role in plant nutrition is referred as mineral nutrition, okay, because it supplies minerals and it holds water. Soil consists of wide variety of substance. Soil not only supplies mineral but also harbors nitrogen fixing bacteria and other microbes, students. Or you can say that it can hold water. It supplies air to the roots, okay, and it acts as a matrix that stabilizes the plant body. And since deficiency of essential mineral affect the crop yield, there is often a need for supplying them through fertilizers, okay, so fertilizer should be supplied to fulfill the deficiency of essential mineral that affects the crop yield. Both macronutrients and micronutrient, it form component of fertilizer, okay, and fertilizer can be applied as per the need. Macronutrients, as I told you that both macronutrients and micronutrients, they form the component of fertilizer. So what is macronutrients? I have already taught you in my previous sections of the presentation, so for better understanding you can refer to that presentation. So macronutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, etc., and micronutrients such as copper, zinc, iron, manganese, etc., they form component of fertilizer and they are applied as per the need. So you can say that soil is a reservoir of essential element, or you can say that majority of the nutrients that are essential for the growth and development of plant become available to the root through withering and breakdown of soil. So soil is considered as reservoir of essential elements which are required for the plant body development, okay. So this was all about it. Now in my next section of the presentation we will discuss about the metabolism of nitrogen. To be more precise, we will discuss about nitrogen cycle. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Itipedia Word videos. Thank you.